So good day everyone. So we are in 16.8 digestions, absorption and transport. So first, let's discuss what is digestions. So digestions means breaking down food into smaller parts that our body can actually reset. So there are two types of digestions. We have mechanical digestions and chemical digestions. So what is mechanical digestion? So it is happens when food is physically broken down into smaller parts or smaller pieces. So for example, so it starts in our mouth. So chew our when we chew food like rice or meat, then our teeth help crush into smaller bits. So next we have chemical digestion. So it is happens when enzymes and digestive juices break down food molecules into nutrients. So for example, in the stomach, acids and enzymes help break down proteins into smaller parts that our body can absorb. So next, figure 16.22, digestion. So let's move into the figures. So figure 16.22, digestions. Food consists primarily of carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. Carbohydrates broken down into monosaccharides, then lipids into fatty acids and monoglycerides, and proteins into amino acids. Now, we are in the figure 16.23, digestions of carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. So, the enzymes involved in digesting carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins are directed in relation to the regions of the digestive tract where each functions. So first, let's discuss the carbohydrates. So carbohydrates come from foods like rice, bread, fruits, and sugar. Digestions begin in the mouth, where the salivary amylase break starts into smaller sugars. When the food reaches the stomach, the acids stop the amylase, so digestion pauses for a while. Then in the duodenum, the pancreas releases pancreatic amylase, which continues breaking down carbohydrates into disaccharides. Finally, in the small intestine, enzymes called disaccharides change disaccharides into monosaccharides, or simple sugar like glucose, which can be absorbed into the blood and used for energy. So next, let's go to lipids or fats. So fats from food like meat, oil, and dairy are not easy to digest because they don't mix well with the water. In the duodenum, bile salts from the liver break large fat droplets into smaller ones. This is called emulsification. Then an enzyme called lipase from the pancreas breaks them down into fatty acids and monoglycerides. These small fat particles are absorbed in the intestine, turned into triglycerides again, and then packed into structures called chylomicrons. They travel through the lymph and blood to be stored in fat tissues or used for energy. So lastly, let's talk about proteins. So proteins are found in meat, fish, beans, and eggs. In the stomach, an enzyme called pepsin breaks proteins into shorter chains called polypeptides. In the small intestine, enzymes from the pancreas, trypsin, chymotrypsin, and carboxypeptidase further break down into smaller peptides. Then enzyme called peptidase split them into single amino acids. These amino acids are absorbed into the blood and carried to the liver. And from there, they are sent all over the body. Amino acids are important for building and repairing tissue, making enzymes and supporting growth. Next, absorption. So after digestion, the next step is absorption. So this is when the small molecules from food move into the bloodstreams so they can be used by the body. So absorption starts in the stomach, where small molecules like alcohol or medicine, or we call aspirin, can enter the blood. But most absorption happens in the small intestine, especially in duodenum and jejunum. So some nutrients pass through intestinal wall easily, while others need help from transport system. So for example, glucose needs special carrier molecules to pass through the intestinal wall into the blood. Next, transport. So the absorbed nutrients are then transported through the blood to all parts of the body. So transport needs carrier molecules, and it happens in three ways. And the three ways are: first, the facilitated diffusion. So this facilitated diffusion has no energy needed. The next, co-transport and active transport. So these co-transport and active transports need energy. So for example, when you eat banana, the glucose and potassiums are absorbed and then carried by the blood to your muscles to give you energy. Next, figure 16.24, the transport of glucose across the intestinal epithelium. So here we see how glucose, which is a sugar, is absorbed in the small intestine. First, glucose enters the intestinal epithelial cell together with sodium, using a transport protein. This process works because of a sodium-potassium pump, which keeps the sodium gradient balanced. Once glucose is inside the cell, it moves out into the blood capillaries through another transport protein. From there, it travels through the hepatic portal vein to the liver, where it is either stored or sent out to the rest of the body for energy. Next, figure 16.25, transport of lipids across the intestinal epithelium. So these figures explain how fats are absorbed. First, bile salts from the liver surround fat pieces to form micelles, which make them easier to handle. These micelles carry fatty acids and monoglycerides to the surface of the intestinal cells, where they pass inside by the simple diffusion. Inside the cell, they are rebuilt into triglycerides and wrapped in a protein coat, forming chylomicrons. So these chylomicrons then leave the cell by exocytosis and enter the lacteals, which are lymphatic vessels inside the villi. From there, they travel through the lymph system and later into the blood circulation. Next, figure 16.27, transport of amino acids across the intestinal epithelium. Finally, this figure shows how amino acids, which come from protein digestions, are absorbed. Amino acids enter the intestinal epithelial cells together with sodium, using a transport protein. Again, this process is powered by the sodium-potassium pump. After entering the cell, amino acids move out into the blood capillaries and are carried through the hepatic portal vein to the liver. So the liver then processes them and send them to the rest of the body, where they are used to build proteins and provide energy if needed. Next, water and minerals. So water can move across the intestinal wall in either direction depending on osmotic conditions. So approximately 99% of the water entering the intestine is absorbed. So most minerals are actively transported across the wall of the small intestine. So each day, approximately of 9 liter water enter the digestive tract. So we ingest about 2 liter of water that of food that we eat, and the remaining 7 liter are from digestive secretions, like come from the digestive juice, like saliva, stomach acid, bile from the liver, and pancreatic juice. So salivary gland secretions 1 liter. So water is secreted by the salivary glands to aid digestions. Then gastric secretions 2 liter. Water and other substances secreted by the stomach to help break down food. Pancreatic 1.2 liter. Secretions from the pancreas the aid of digestions in the small intestine. So bile 0.7 liter. Secreted by the liver to help digest fats. So most of the water, the 92%, gets absorbed into your blood from your small intestine, and about 6 to 7% gets absorbed in the large intestine, and only about 1% of the water leaves by your body, so like our poop. Next, let's go to 16.9, effects of aging in digestive system. So with advancing age, the layers of the digestive tract thin, so magnipis siya, and then blood supply decrease. So mucus secretions and motility also decreased in the digestive tract. So the defenses of the digestive tract decline, leaving it more sensitive to infection and the effects of toxic agents. The tooth enamel becomes thinner and the gingiva recede, exposing dentin, which may become painful and affect eating habits. So for that is the effects of aging in the digestive system. So for better knowledge or better learning, so let's watch this video.
As you get older, you absorb less vitamins and minerals from food. This is because these little fingers on the inside of your small intestine, called the villi, like most things as we age, slowly become damaged and less effective over time. And this is important because the villi is where the majority of vitamins and minerals are absorbed. If the villi are damaged, you don't absorb as much nutrients. So what can you do to support the health of the villi? Eat nutrient-dense whole foods that are rich in vitamins and minerals. Look to incorporate prebiotics and probiotics into your diet, found in foods like sauerkraut, which support your overall digestive system health, and drinking plenty of water over the course of the entire day.
And that's all our report. And thank you for listening and watching our video. Thank you.